Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Tom Stewart here. I am with Aja Holiday. Our guest today is Michelle Krueger, and this is MaidCentral Partner Profiles. Hey,
Hello,
Michelle, how
hello.
are you?
I am wonderful. Thank you. How are you guys?
We're great.
Doing great. Happy
Good.
Tuesday.
Yeah,
Taco
right.
Tuesday.
Yeah. Just thinking, when was the last time we saw each other? You've been to some of our live events before, right?
It was last August at the MaidCentral Academy in Charleston.
Charleston. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
We're going to do another one of those in Charleston in September.
That was fantastic. Fantastic. Great location. Fantastic.
We've
Yeah.
expanded it to 3 days now.
Really?
Yeah.
I could see easily filling that. Easily.
We do.
Yeah.
Oh,
We
yeah,
didn't
that's
want
no
to leave.
problem.
We did not want to leave.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, a group of us came up there, got an Airbnb, and digested everything MaidCentral during the day, and then went to these restaurants and literally didn't order entrees. We literally ordered all of the appetizers on the menu, and we just shared.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah, it was the best eating experience.
That sounds super awesome. Charleston has some good food. There's some times that we leave and I'm like, oh, just craving boxcar Betty's. I'm on their email list.
Aww.
Tom, I get the
Are you
boxcar
kidding
emails.
me? Really?
I want it all the time.
Okay. They'll probably put it on dry ice and ship it to you. I don't know how good it'll be.
One day.
So,
Anyways.
Michelle, you own and operate a significantly successful cleaning business in Central Florida, Brightside Cleaning. How did you wind up in the house cleaning industry?
Interestingly, I was in the construction industry. I worked for a custom home builder. I was the director of customer care, warranty, and quality assurance. And in 2007, the housing market crashed.
Mm-hmm.
And one of my very intuitive clients said, you need to start a business that serves us, the 55 plus community, because that's who we specialized in, 55 plus. And so I started a business just doing window washing, just me, one house a day. And then those same clients would say things like, wow, my windows are so clean. Do you think you could clean my house too?
It sheds some light on the rest of the house.
Right, exactly. And silly me, never having owned a business before, my thought process back then, it just makes me cringe today. My thought process was, I live in Florida, it rains a lot, I have a window washing business. If I take on just a few house cleaning clients, when it rains, I'll have something to do, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then my other skewed mindset was, all I have to do is make a couple $100s a day to pay my bills. That's all I have to make. And when I was making that couple $100s a day and paying my bills, my thought process was, well, I'm never going to make a lot of money in this industry, so at least I love the work I do. That's how much I didn't know. I did not know.
There you go.
I did not know.
So how'd you end up with a business? Where did that come from?
I took on one, literally for 10 years, I survived and grew on word of mouth referrals. So
Wow.
I was still being referred as a window washer and still being referred as a house cleaner now.
Okay.
And literally word of mouth referrals. It wasn't until I was probably 12, 13 years into my business when I said I need to learn about marketing. And
okay.
It wasn't until 2 years ago, roughly the time I started with MaidCentral, that I stopped doing in-home estimates.
Okay.
The learning curve is long with this one. But
I would disagree. I would just say you took a while to decide that you were like, we're doing this business thing. And then once you decided you were doing the business thing, you were like, okay, we're doing it all. We're going at it. And I feel like you pick it up quickly. But the process to get to the business thing, you were like, we're just going to take this a day at a time.
Yeah. And it was fun. And I loved every minute of it. When I first started, they always say, most small businesses fail in the first 5 years. Mm-hmm. And so I had that in my ear. And then also, how long am I going to love this? And to this day, I love it. To this day, I love it.
That's
do.
awesome.
I do. I love it.
That's really awesome.
So you've been doing this since 2007, 2008, but really you've been doing it as a serious business for maybe the last 3 years.
Well, actually, no. When I started in 2007, I did my homework and I went out and got my S corp certification before I even had a client.
Okay.
Okay.
And my
Yeah.
bookkeeper, and then I found a bookkeeper, and he's like, you didn't really have to do that so quickly, but okay.
You
And
had time.
right. And so my first year in business, I made $5,000. And the next year in business, I don't know, I probably made $35,000. And it was just a very slow, methodical growth. Like I didn't know what we could do in this industry. I didn't know.
Yeah.
So I've been a real legitimate business, just small until the last 3-4 years. Yeah.
I know we were talking a little bit before we hopped onto the live stream. When did you first sort of start finding the community, I guess, in residential cleaning?
I didn't know there was a community until I was COVID, right? Isn't that what changed everybody's business? COVID. And I'm ugly crying on my couch because everything is broken. And I'm Googling how to sell my business.
Oh my gosh.
Oh,
And instead of finding how to sell my business, I found Cleaning Business Fundamentals
okay.
and
That's
had
awesome.
a coaching call with Debbie. And Debbie said, COVID didn't break your business. Your business was already broken, and this is just magnifying it. So stop crying and let's fix this.
Get your booty off that couch. Let's go.
Right. And that was my first experience with community, and being okay knowing that you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
You have no idea what you don't know. And if I knew back then how powerful it could be to be part of a community of cleaning business owners instead of being afraid and feeling like they were competition, I just can't even tell you how different things might look.
Mm.
Yeah, the community it's a rock.
You don't have to figure out everything on your own, do you?
No. And every day we are learning things and teaching things. It's amazing. And so now we've got the CBF community and we've got the MaidCentral community and all of these smaller groups that have emerged. And some of us have digested MaidCentral a little bit quicker than others. And some of us digest different things than others. And so when you put us all together, we just learn from each other constantly.
Yeah, I think one of the things that I've always really loved about this industry is just like the way that people grow on different strengths, and like the way that people can kind of hit that, like they kind of hit the same sort of growth or like scale kind of like wall at the same point, like the same time. I would say like maybe it might be that million point that people are like, they can kind of get to that point on their skill.
Yeah.
And then you kind of have to learn from somebody else, like what other strengths some other people have, and either utilizing that strength or learning from them or bringing somebody else with a different strength in. But like, I think it's just really cool that you can get to that really, really successful point on very different strengths.
Yes.
And I think that's something very unique about this industry that I really love, that keeps me coming back.
That reminds me of the calls. They're called something different now, but when you're new and you go on office hours, it used to be called office hours.
Yeah,
it's
the
called,
partner success.
yeah. And so even though I was in MaidCentral for 6, 9, 10, 12 months, every once in a while, I would just hop into those office hours. And even though I wasn't new anymore, hearing what the new people were asking and hearing the answers that they were given, I heard it differently. And I still have aha moments. So even though I'm way beyond that entry level, I still have aha moments from those introductory calls. And I love it. I love it.
I have them every once in a while myself, Michelle. I mean, it's stuff that or at least you think you hear it and you kind of see it a little bit differently.
Yeah.
Never thought of
Yeah.
it that way before.
Exactly.
Yeah, we've had a couple of people come to the live events multiple times, and they get just as much out of it the second time as they did the first time. And it's different things.
Yeah.
And it's like, I mean, we're teaching the same things, but they got a different takeaway out of it because there's so much more that you can take, you can go with it, you can run with it in a different path. Yeah, very cool.
And afterwards, Aj and I are talking. It's like, how do we wind up there? I don't know. It was pretty cool.
Can we do it again? How do we make that happen again? I don't even know how we got there.
Well, and with those classes, I remember I was told, be in MaidCentral a couple months before you go to the class. I can't imagine doing it any other way. Seriously.
You said that you saw Brian's partner profile that we did with him. He came the week he went live.
That's crazy. I was going, how did you even... I couldn't have. I'm really glad that I waited. I joined MaidCentral in March. I was there in August. It was perfect timing for me to know just enough and be able to build on that.
Yeah, I think you went live in May when I was looking at the data. I think you went live in May. So I think you had just like the perfect amount of, 3 months, perfect timing to just get enough under your belt of operational type things that you could start to think about some of the things that we go over in the live events. And I'm glad that worked out. I think it shows. I think it really shows just like, kind of what we're seeing in how you're using MaidCentral in the last year. I guess, how did you hear about MaidCentral? Actually, I'm going to rewind just a little bit. Do you know where you first kind of heard about us?
Likely from somebody in CBF. Likely a coach, likely somebody who had gotten to that next level of growth and had to transition into something that they knew they would never have to transition out of again. Because let's face it, switching CRMs it's like pulling teeth. It's painful, super painful. And I think what stuck in my mind was when somebody said, if you make the switch, you're probably never going to have to do this work again. This is where you can live forever. So that was very appealing.
Yeah.
So were you looking to make a change? I mean, what happened? How did you come to that conclusion?
I really wasn't looking to make a change, but I also knew that I didn't love where I was at. It was okay. But I also could see already that it wasn't going to carry me long term. I could feel the limitations going, okay, how am I going to, how is this going to work for me 2 years down the road? How am I going to see this? How am I going to be able to digest this information? How am I going to be able to adjust this schedule? Right? For me, the MaidCentral, that master schedule is brilliant. It's genius. Didn't digest it at first. Took me several months and many mistakes, but it's brilliant and it's genius and I love it. And I can't imagine living without it.
And would you say it's really easy now that you it's barely a thought now?
Now I would, but man, was it scary. And I even remember calling you at some point and saying, this isn't working. This is broken. And what you should have said is, Michelle, you're just not using it right. But it was at the live event in August.
Hey, Brian.
It was at the live event where you made an analogy and said, picture it this way. And you were talking about how it began and what the thoughts were and what the visions were. And then all of a sudden I went, okay, duh. Now that makes sense. Weeks 1 and 3 and 2 and 4. Because when I first looked at them, I'm like, why doesn't it go 1, 2, 3, 4? That would be crazy. That would be crazy. But once you
1, 3, 2, 4.
Yeah, I always laugh when I'm like, all right, first thing you need to notice is this is on purpose. We can count to 4, guys. I do promise that this is on purpose, that we count 1, 3, 2, 4. No, that is so funny. And I just actually finished a call with somebody who's looking at MaidCentral as a potential option for them. And we just spent like 35 minutes on the master schedule. She was like, I don't know what that meant. I was like, I just threw the word out because it's so common in our vernacular at MaidCentral that we talk about the master schedule so much. I just kind of like threw the word out there, and I was like, do you know what that is? And she's like, no. And I was like, oh, I should probably explain a little bit, and went down like the whole rundown. And she was like, this is incredible. I was like, yeah, like this is so like a way to manage your recurring schedule. Weird. That's so cool. I'm really glad that you understand it now. I know it's easy for you, because that's where I want to get everybody to.
Yeah. But it wasn't easy. And I'm learning that even in my own office team, digesting MaidCentral, it happens at different levels for everybody. Mm-hmm. Maybe it depends on your age, your background, your familiarity with technology, but I definitely didn't digest it quickly. I went at my own speed, and that's okay. They need to know that too. It's okay.
Yeah. Do you feel like there was like a kind of a clear click point for you that you remember just feeling like, oh yeah, okay, I feel like this is making things, I do feel easier. I do feel like, this is making my job a little bit, or even a situation where something might have been harder in the past if it had happened, like maybe a crisis situation sort of came up, and now you can see that this is kind of becoming easier now, because you have MaidCentral in place in the way that it's set up now.
Yes, all of that. I tried to digest all of MaidCentral, all of it, and that wasn't working for me. So I had to back up and go, okay, there's 3 of us in the office. I'm going to take scheduling. You're going to take invoicing. You're going to take the quoting tool, right? And we each just took different areas so that at the same speed, we were all learning something new and different. And then we could come back and teach each other. Mm-hmm. And that worked well for my team.
Yeah, no, I think that's great. I think that's perfect, having like kind of experts on your team within the MaidCentral system where you guys can kind of utilize each other.
Yeah.
As resources. That's really cool.
But then I have Taylor, my office admin, and she just seems to get everything. She just gets it. And now she's been with me for like 120 days, and she's teaching me things. I guess all of that to say is, don't be scared, and it works.
It works.
Is it hard, or is it different? I know it's hard at first because it's different, and it's not unusual for a company to move over to MaidCentral, and right from the beginning, they have ideas of things that we should change to make it look like the software they were used to.
Mm-hmm. That's the key. That's the key. Where are you coming from? So where I came from, I had so much familiarity, and I struggled transitioning. The office staff that didn't have any exposure whatsoever to a CRM, anything more than a Google Calendar, they just absorbed it. Mm-hmm. So they had no preconceived notions.
Interesting.
They just accepted it for what it was and didn't think any other way about it.
Yeah. That's interesting. That's actually, we had a really good call this morning with a partner that helped us kind of see the challenges that sometimes our partners have with the differences between the old software and the new software. And I think that's a really good, it's an interesting piece, like those preconceived like processes and ideas and just like how things work, and having to kind of like, we're all old dogs, right? Yeah. I use this analogy a lot when we're doing this. We're adults. That literally makes us old dogs. Yeah. So it's just like when we're learning new tricks, it takes a lot of repetition. And so when we've built really big processes for ourselves, and now we have to completely change literally everything that we do in a whole new system, and it works differently than how we've ever done it. Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. And once you settle in and you feel like it's got me, right? It's supporting me.
Mm-hmm.
So your company's been on MaidCentral for a little over a year. How has that changed your business?
Ah,
Has it grown?
it has. Oh, absolutely. It's grown. I think last year to this year, we're on track for a 26% growth. And truth be told, I'm not utilizing MaidCentral to its fullest potential. I'm not.
Oh, if I had $1 for every time somebody told that to me.
You know, we've always heard that we don't use our brains to our fullest potential, and we have no idea what percentage that is. That's how I feel about MaidCentral, that
But it's not 10%. You think we use more than 10%?
I'm going to give myself credit for maybe 50%.
Okay.
But I am not using MaidCentral to its potential. I know that I'm not. We've had a lot of struggles in our business in the last year, especially in the last 6 months. And I couldn't focus, right? I couldn't focus, let alone learn new things. And to see my growth and how my growth is connected to MaidCentral tells me that even though I didn't understand it 100%, it's still working for me.
Yeah.
That's
working
cool.
for me. Yeah. And the more I get to know it, the better it's going to work for me. Like, I've been in it a year, and just last week I put a little video of me explaining the difference between my cleaning services. This tiny little video is now on my quoting tool. And I wouldn't have had the courage to do that a year ago, but now I'm so excited to see, is that going to help my quoting conversion rate online? I'm so excited for that. So
yeah, that's so cool. I'm actually really proud that you put a video on there.
Yeah.
I'm like so proud of you right now.
If you just think about where you were, that's kind of scary just to think about, isn't it?
It is. It is really scary. And so if anybody who knows me knows that I have a paralyzing fear of public speaking. And so for me to do a video that I'm going to put up there on my quoting tool that anybody and everybody could see, but get this, I found a teleprompter app. And that's how I was able to accomplish this. I found a teleprompter app and I wrote my speech and I just read it, and it was right there in front of my face. And I'm pretty sure that if you didn't know I cheated, you wouldn't know I cheated.
That's not cheating. That's not cheating. That's
Fair.
using a tool that is practical, that is finding a tool to get the results that you're looking for to push yourself forward. That is not cheating. That's not cheating.
That's best
no
practices.
cheating involved. Best practice.
I imagine that's going to help me grow in that area. And then sometime in the next couple of weeks or months, I'm going to fix my availability calendar so that they can just go at 3:00 in the morning and book some cleans.
They can pull an Aja.
Right. Exactly.
Decide that now's the time and get it done in the middle of the night.
Exactly.
This comment is so cool.
Yeah.
About this, because I wanted to say something about this. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Nicole's comment here of when I first started using MaidCentral, I said the coding seemed backwards. Once I got the hang of it and learned the ins and outs, I realized why everything is laid out the way it is. That is so funny to me, because I think this is the same kind of thing with that different software, feeling like it's just so backwards, or it's just so different. And then once you understand that there's a reason for everything in MaidCentral, that it's all connected to the data at some place or another. And the more that you use it, the more those connections start to make sense of like, okay, we've got these different levels of how, our customers have houses, and our houses have service sets, and our service sets have jobs. And there's just kind of this little hierarchy of things within there. And when you're trying to figure out data points around these things, you can start to understand where you can look, because you know how things interact with each other, I guess, a little bit. So this is really interesting, because I think this is something that we struggle with on the MaidCentral team, is how do we how do we translate that for people to understand? It's not backwards. It's just
Right.
there's language there.
Right. So people like Nicole, they're going to take the time to dig in and understand that. And she does. She understands MaidCentral so well. And then there's me who just has to say, you know what, just trust this. Just ask the questions, follow the system, and trust it.
I would say for you, just remembering, because when you were going through onboarding, we've changed our implementation process a lot. Like you started with, you got to see the initial process of the office hours, system where we were introducing the office hours and having that as part of the process. And you were one of the first people to take just like full advantage of that, where you were in there all the time. And I would say, and I think Austin would agree, who I believe is watching this as well, that it's not cheating, would agree that by you coming to those calls, and sometimes even just hanging out, that you were able to just like absorb so much of that information, and you always ask questions. Like you were never afraid to ask those questions. And I think that helped you so much to like learn what Nicole was kind of piecing out for herself, but you were getting in a different format. And I think that you did a really good job of kind of adjusting your implementation process to your learning style. So I give you kudos for that.
Well, thank you. Thank you. And I need to give kudos too, because I feel like the team that is on those calls understands, and they never, ever seemed impatient when I said, okay, I know I asked this question before, but can we please answer this for me again? Sometimes I had to go back and say, I don't get it. Can you please help me get it? Can you help me get it another way? And they were always so accommodating.
But that's really our favorite response. It's so much better than just not saying anything or pretending you have it when you really don't. When you ask that extra question, it gets easier for everybody.
Yeah. And I learned that. Like I would just say, hey, I'm just here to hang out. And I would hear things differently because of the different ways other people didn't understand it.
So. And I think our team loves answering questions though too. Like I think, I don't know, I love when somebody tells me that they didn't understand and ask me to explain it another way, because it's also a challenge for me, because one, that is not the last time somebody's going to ask that question. Okay. Whether you're going to ask that question again or somebody else is going to ask that question again in the future, we are going to get that question again. Period. Like we accept that. If we ever got annoyed by having the same question asked, we are not in the right job. Trust us, we're okay with that. But also, I know I enjoy the challenge of coming up with a new way to answer it, like of coming up with a new way to explain it and helping somebody else learn it in a different method, or finding different paths through the system to learn it as well. Like I think we kind of enjoy that challenge a little bit of finding new ways to explain it to people. So thanks for the challenge, honestly.
We appreciate that so much. We appreciate that.
Yeah.
So
cool. Well,
we've had a few people comment on payroll, and you mentioned CBF. So Michelle, I'm guessing you use job ticket hour as a way to pay your technicians?
I actually use empowered pay, empowered pay percentage. And I gotta tell you, whenever that last update came out, I don't remember when it was, Nicole and Jen, they're in here commenting. Wow, they digested that, and they were able to literally sit down and teach me. And it just made it so much easier than all of those manual calculations.
Having that tier, the tier.
Does it save you time?
Oh my gosh, tons. And the documentation that it provides, right? So not only is this your base pay, and then this is your additional pay, and this is why. And all of that is documented so that the technicians can everything is transparent. And it's easy.
Yeah. It's literally empowering them. What?
Yeah.
You don't say. So
Yeah.
you're using the tiered pay with the percentage, and
Yes.
the tiered pay with the job ticket hour as well,
Yeah.
utilizing that, utilizing the marketing text videos,
Yes.
online quoting,
Yes.
and you weren't doing any sort of online quoting or booking prior, right?
Not a bit. Not a bit. I was still
Not
doing
even like
in-home
wanting
estimates.
to.
I was doing in-home estimates.
What a leap. What a leap from in-home estimates to online quoting in like
Yes.
3 months.
Yeah, a couple months.
That's
So
crazy.
uncomfortable. So uncomfortable. And now I go, what were you thinking? What were you thinking?
That is so awesome though.
So,
That's impressive.
Yeah. It's good. It's much better. Much better.
and
Now I hate driving around town in my car. I want to be here and being productive. That's no longer feels
Put me
productive.
in front of my computer.
Yeah.
So, do we want to jump into some of the numbers a little bit? I mean,
Yeah.
you've made some pretty significant improvements in your business over the last year since making the change. Aja, do you want to take us into throw a number up there and
Yeah, we can jump right in. So yeah, the first number that we kind of noticed here was your bill per clean in the last year, really improving from $184 per clean to $202, which was I'm looking at the wrong thing. Oh, leave me out. Leave it to me to have the wrong document open as usual.
that's like a 10% improvement.
Yeah. And you said you weren't focusing on this.
Yeah,
You
I did
raise
the math earlier. I'm not going to pretend I'm doing that in my head. That's a 10% improvement over a year, though.
I wasn't focused on that at all. In fact, I was surprised. But again, that goes back to I feel like even if you don't 100% digest MaidCentral, it's going to carry you. It's going to help you grow your business, even if you don't even know what to look at.
Yeah. And so you're using the quoting tool, right? Instead of in-home estimates. So you're not making adjustments because somebody's nice or, their dog was really cute.
Right.
Anything like that.
How did you know?
I don't know. Things happen. So that might be part of it too, is just like the really sticking to the number and the, having the system giving you that number and knowing that like your purpose in that process is explaining your service, not explaining that total necessarily. You're explaining the service, and the number, the price is what the price is. Yeah. I think that might have a piece of that.
I think there's two trust issues here in bill per clean. And one is I trust the quoting tool, right? I trust it and I don't second guess it. But also in the information, all the information that happens about knowing your value, and don't be afraid to raise your price, and showing us what happens if you don't raise your price.
Yeah.
Right. And so it's hard. Raising prices is hard. Very hard.
Yeah.
And
so
the part of this that I think sometimes gets lost too is it's like, okay, 10% improvement, 10%. Okay. But that's top line. And we've already established that you're using incentive pay, or you using allowed hours pay in essence. So that 10% flows all the way down to your bottom line. So, I don't know what your profit margin was before and after, but just that one change alone, if you had a 10% profit margin, you just doubled your profit by increasing your bill rate 10%. That would flow straight down. So theoretically, you could be making twice as much money and not have to clean any more homes.
Agreed. But also my technicians, that's flowing straight through to them.
Yeah, because she's paying percentage. So she's getting that.
Oh, percentage. Okay.
Yeah, she's on that percentage.
Great.
So
So 40% of that roughly goes to your tax, and the other 60% goes to you. they're getting a raise without having to clean any more homes makes you
Exactly.
a better place to work. And
Exactly.
I bet your technician turnover improved because of that.
Huh. Weird. 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 It did. There was a massive improvement on that. We got a oh no, I did put it on there.
Oh,
A 51% improvement here.
it's yeah. I mean, it's you cut it in half, more than cut it in half.
Yeah, it's important. So, but it's not just that. It's that even on my side, I don't have to take the time or stress to be thinking about raises, right?
Right.
It just happens. It's one more thing off my plate.
So
yeah.
So that, I mean, that's half the number of W-2s you're sending out, or the recruiting and everything. That's huge.
And honestly, I mean, not just even like in the recruiting process, but training is expensive. Like turnover is so expensive. I remember looking at payroll percent to revenue. If you're really paying attention to that number boings up if training gets added in there. And so if you're constantly having turnover and you're constantly having to throw new trainees in there, and that number's just boinging up, that 10% that we were talking about is kind of just getting lost in that shuffle.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't have this in addition to it. So like, I think it's actually really cool, some of the numbers that you improved on when we're able to talk about how these work together.
Yeah.
Right. We've got your bill per clean, that 10% improvement. If everything else stays the same, that funnels into your 40% to your technicians and 60% into, profit kind of thing. But we're also saying that in the turnover side of things, where that 10% could have gotten lost in other things that, eat out of profit necessarily. One of the big things that could eat out of profit on our COGS and our cost of goods is our technician turnover. Yeah. And so when you're cutting that in half, we're like, oh, we could feasibly assume that bottom line profit number actually probably improved in addition to that 10% improvement that we were talking about earlier, because we cut this turnover in half. Like that's super cool as well. Like, look at all these things working together.
Yeah.
I love it.
You're able to be more consistent, and your customers are less likely to quit, and it's easier to grow. I mean, it's like a virtuous circle. Just, Michelle, you were sharing a little bit before we started that some of the benefit that you got out of MaidCentral and just making this change wasn't necessarily conscious. You didn't even know it was happening, or you were doing it. It just, the way things started working differently, just kind of happened. Some of it happened on its own.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's the way it works when, you're able to drive, your technician turnover down. Other things start working better that you weren't even thinking about because your turnover is better.
Right. Right.
So as our go ahead.
No, go ahead.
As our poster child for knowing that you're not using everything to the fullest, what are some of the reports that you are using? Like knowing that these, like those two numbers that we've talked about so far aren't two of the numbers that you've been really pushing on in the last year, but we're seeing some really big improvements on them. What reports are you using on a regular basis that you're really kind of popping in on and maybe seeing, that you're kind of like look at and see if there's something, not going the way that you want it to, or non-conforming issues type things?
So first of all, my most favorite newest function, which gets me to my favorite report, is Control K.
Control K! Yay! Alvin's going to be so happy. Austin, how proud are you right now? Michelle's a Control K-er.
Yeah. Yes.
So explain to maybe some people who don't know, what does Control K do?
It gets you anywhere you want to be. You don't have to remember where anything is. You just hit Control K and put in a few letters, and it gives you all of the places. It gives you all of your options. Like my favorite report is the revenue, production, and planning report. Mm-hmm. And so my Control K, I'm just REV, revenue. and I'm
Yeah.
there. I don't have to go to the menu and then drop down and go to
Remember when
reports.
it was
And
under.
no, it's so fast.
I'm so proud of you.
It's so, I love it. I love it. I love it. Now, I love it. So that brings me to the revenue production and planning report. I love that. I love, never before have I ever been able to see what I already had on the books. Never before did I know where my month was going to go, except to say, oh, it's the first week. If I multiply this by 4, that's probably what I'm going to make this month, right? Never before. So I get to see my bottom line going into the month. I get to see how I'm growing throughout the month. And I get to see where my days need beefing up, where I need to
work. Yeah.
You see it differently than just looking at the schedule. You see it differently. And you go, well, why is that day only this when these days are all of that? If I could do it there, then I can do it here.
Do you ever look out super far in the future to see what your like natural booking is?
Yeah, that's fun.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
one of my favorite things to do. I'm like, what's our natural booking? Where do we naturally book? How much are we fighting for every week right now?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So
that's a good one.
My favorite report. And I know that the master schedule, it's on the report menu, so it's a report, right? Yeah. So that's my second favorite report because I can't imagine life without the master schedule. So
Love it.
Yeah.
It's report. You could call it a tool as well because you can kind of do a lot with it.
What now?
Sorry, that's it. I'm getting on the calls.
On the what?
Nicole here. She says that's it. I'm getting on the calls. Y'all are sharing secrets. I'm dying. We do share secrets on the calls.
Yeah.
These are also in all the emails we send out too.
But hold up. There's not just MaidCentral secrets in those calls. There are literal nuggets, like literal gold nuggets in those calls. And I'm going, wait a minute. She just taught me something that had nothing to do with MaidCentral. Like, I'm not going to remember her name. Maybe it was Victoria. Maybe it was Sarah. Taught me about Scribe How.
Oh, yeah, probably Sarah. Actually, Sarah loves Scribe.
Yeah, when you're trying to teach somebody how to do steps in MaidCentral, like when my admin had to teach me, give me a refresher on payroll, Scribe How.
Yeah.
It's not MaidCentral, but it sure does help.
I think it comes across that like our whole team, even though most of our team has not worked in a cleaning, company itself. I think we all still have a big passion for the industry as a whole and just like business management as a whole. Like we kind of just really like helping people do things efficiently in business. And so I think it's just really cool that it kind of comes out naturally in any call that we do with people, that if we can find a way to help people do something else, even if it's outside of MaidCentral, we're like, here, have this other really cool thing we found that helps us. It might help you too. Take it. Do something fantastic with it and tell all your friends.
And we do.
Have to be MaidCentral.
And we do. Yeah. No secrets.
There are no secrets, but definitely come to the calls, Nicole. Like all of them, they're great. I miss some of them, but they are so much fun. And not just like they're not just fun. They can be fun, but they are also very informative. Anytime people ask questions. But I had a point on the master schedule. You're talking about that it just being kind of an essential tool. So we found some really interesting correlations between, we haven't been able to prove causation yet. I'm going to go science-y on this, but we haven't been able to prove causation, but there's definitely a correlation.
Correlation is not causation.
Exactly. Between consistency and technician turnover. But so like the fact that you've been really using it and feeling like you aren't using it to its fullest, but still feeling like you are getting better at it and getting to understand it more. And being able to see that your technician turnover has dropped so much, that could be having an effect on that. Like even not knowing if you're using it fully or using it maybe the way that you want to, you're making progress on it. Absolutely.
What's keeping me from using it fully is that I am still trying to get rid of the other recurrings.
Oh, really? You've still got some others?
I do. I do. I
Hey, hey.
do.
Like every 3
Point.
weeks or every 6
once a month.
weeks? Or
Once a
once a month, 12
Like
times
the
a year.
first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
12. And that's another thing. That's another thing that before MaidCentral, how did that never occur to me? That if you just do every 4 weeks, you'd get 13 cleanings instead of 12.
Yeah.
Never occurred to me.
Yeah, and a clean master schedule. Ooh.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yes. Yeah.
It's always on week 1 or week 4 or whatever
Yep.
it is. It's not moving
Yeah.
around.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. It's also just like interesting because it's like, you know, you get to explain to people that it's just going to be a constant.
Mm.
Every 4 weeks. We're going to be there every 4 weeks. But I'm wondering if that might have a piece of this absenteeism because this improvement is insane.
Yeah. That is like
Um,
100. How much is that? That's a 74% improvement. Basically
Yeah.
cut it by over a third, right?
Yeah, 33% to 8.53. I couldn't even add a decimal point on the one on the left. It ruined my formatting. That's how big of an improvement that was.
So like how many roughly, Michelle, how many technicians do you have?
I have 10.
Okay. So that's basically like hiring 2 new people without actually having to hire 2 new people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're a lot more consistent. You can, getting the same people back to the same home at the same day
Yeah.
and same
It
time.
helps. It helps. Truly.
Yeah, no, I think this is crazy and less chaos.
It
You
is.
know,
Of all the issues that I could have in business, employees are not, they're just not one. They're not one of my issues.
Did you ever think you were going to be able to say that in your life?
No. Oh my gosh, that's what was making me cry because back during COVID, it was my team. They were just, we were working in teams. First of all,
Mhm.
they
When did you
just,
make that switch? Sorry, just a quick question there. When did you make that switch?
Immediately after joining CBF. First
Okay.
two changes I made: solo cleaners and empowered pay.
Nice.
But yeah, my team just imploded. They just started backbiting each other and just not getting along. And I started all over.
Mm-hmm.
Started all over with the cleaners. And since then have learned not to put up with anything for too long. I have a very small tolerance now for somebody who's not a good fit. I have learned to trust my gut.
Yeah.
Yeah. Usually now they're gone before the 5th day of training.
Yeah.
And I can remember going, it's been a year. Why haven't I fired her yet?
And now if anybody does make it too far, have you had anybody make it too far into that where you've had to pull out stats maybe about them?
No.
Oh, well, even
No. I have gone the complete opposite end of the spectrum. Also, I was living in understaffed mode for so long. I was comfortable there, right? I had to learn how to live in overstaffed mode, and now I'm comfortable there, and I never want to go back.
So does having better numbers, better data, some of the reports make it a little bit easier to make those decisions?
Yeah, we can't. I don't know how we made decisions before, and now I know why I made the decisions that I made before. Because I wasn't making those decisions based on data. I was making them based on my gut and my emotions.
Mm-hmm.
You were hoping that it was going to work, and maybe we'll be lucky, and keeping your fingers crossed. With the numbers, you know when to hire, know if you need to let someone go, how it's going to impact you.
Yeah.
And even what to point at if something doesn't turn out the way that you wanted it to when you're working on it, right? Because like, especially when you're making gut choices or making decisions off of gut, and it doesn't go the way that you expect, the reflection part just almost never happens.
Right.
You kind of you make the decision, it doesn't work, and you just kind of keep going and spinning.
Yeah.
When you start making decisions off of data, the reflection part almost feels more natural. That you look back on it like, why did I make that decision based off of that number if it wasn't the right decision? or what was another number I should have been looking at, because it's just like a little more objective. It makes it a lot easier to look back and be reflective and maybe make a better decision the next time.
Agreed.
I don't know. I feel like I see that a lot easier after the fact if it wasn't based off of the gut emotional type thing. Like, I don't want to look back on those emotions. Don't make me.
Right. Yeah.
I didn't even want to look at them then.
Yeah. And it's a lot easier to train with data, right? Because I'm not saying, well, I think that this is the issue. No, I'm saying, look at this data. Look at this. This means that we have this problem here, and this is what we need to do to fix it. And it just makes it that much easier to solve those problems.
Yeah. I'm going to throw up one last number. This one's an easy one because you're doing the online quoting, but quotes per week. It's a lot easier to do some quotes per week when you're not doing in-house.
Yeah.
you can double your quotes per week pretty easily here when you got that online quoting happening.
And what you were seeing there at that 6.5, that was my fear. I would still be giving them the answer on the phone and then later putting it into MaidCentral because I knew I was supposed to. Not understanding the value. Right. I mean, okay, this is what we were taught. Okay, well, I'm going to give you this. I'm going to schedule you, and then I'm going to put it in the system.
Yeah.
And so it took me this year to realize the value and how it can make that job so much easier to just do it.
Yeah.
And now you don't lose anything. And all of your leads are in there, not just the ones that I remembered to put in there.
Mm-hmm. On the follow-up, once you get that set up too, or even if you aren't ready for automated follow-up, the sales dashboard is ready for you. So it can just tell you, hey, it's been a little bit since you talked to this person. Do you want to shoot them a line? You want to give them a call? You know, just helping keep on top of those things, you know, giving the tools for where you're at.
Yeah.
You know, you don't have to be using everything fully all the time.
Agreed.
Just pieces that you need.
That automatic campaign is gold. I love it. It.
How are you using both of those?
I'm using
the lead and the quote.
I think I'm just using the quote right now.
Okay. Cool.
But it's again, you're carrying me, right? If I can't be mentally present today, if I've got too much on my plate, if I'm just got too much going on.
If you don't want to use the 50% of your brain that you normally use that day, you don't have to.
Right, because you've got me, right? You're going to follow up for me.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's so great. I love it.
What else?
Yeah. So, you know, now that you're here with your business, what are your plans moving forward?
Nice.
I mean, you've made a lot of progress over the last year. What do you see, you know, for the balance of this year and moving forward?
I see finding my stability this year.
Okay.
The beginning of this year was really, really, really hard because I had to replace all of my office staff at one time. For one reason or another, they needed to be replaced, and all of it happened inside of a week or two. And here I was at this higher level of revenue and no support here in the office. And so we're slowly building back, and it's a lot. Mm-hmm. It's a lot to start over and train an office team. And there's just so much I'm not looking at. There's so much I can't even see right now, but I know that it's getting taken care of at some level, right? I know I know that I have spent the last year dumping my brain into client notes, and now my cleaners are being trained to dump their brains into the client notes, so that if something goes wrong and we have to switch, everybody's on the same page. That's huge.
Yeah.
Right. Just so many support systems within MaidCentral that I don't have to be looking at it every single day for it still to be doing its job.
I appreciate you sharing that, Michelle, because if you've done this long enough, you've had to go through those tough decisions. We all have from time to time. And it's particularly scary when you're thinking that, this key person knows everything that, we need to know. And without them, we won't know that as an organization anymore. But if you use the system, the knowledge is actually there,
Right.
and you've got what you need.
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
I hope that never happens again, but if it does, this hard time behind me is going to better prepare me for next.
It'll be easier than if it
Yeah.
ever happens again.
Yeah.
I mean, could you imagine going through the last 5 months a year ago?
No, absolutely
Yeah.
not, because everything was in here.
Mhm.
All of the systems were in here. The payroll was manual, for crying out loud. It was manual.
For crying out loud.
It was on paper. I wrote it out.
Yeah. No, I mean, you can't put, it's hard to even put a value on that, but that idea of just like, you can lose that whole support system kind of thing for a short period of time and still be showing growth right now, right? Like, I'm still showing growth for you right now. Maybe I could have showed more growth for you, 2 months ago if we had pulled it then. I don't know. I'm not doing any comparisons between that. I'm just looking at like a year ago versus now. You have still grown compared to a year ago versus now, even with that operations processes. So,
right. And like I said, I don't know everything. We have the resources, that little medallion thing in the corner where you can just open that up and a new person can learn how to do things because there's so many videos and so many tutorials.
Say that again. Where is it? Where's the little medallion thing?
Down there in the corner.
It's in the corner. You can see it right there.
Bottom left corner. Use it. Everybody use it. That MaidCentral logo. Just so in case anybody misses it, that there's a bottom left corner. There's a MaidCentral logo there. That links us to our support articles. That has a direct link to our support page where you can search our support page. It's how you can submit tickets. It's how you can access the ideas portal. It also links you to our calendar. We have all of our partner calendars linked in there. Our Thinkific, our courses are all linked in there as well. So literally, it is called the Resources Center. It has all of the resources that anybody could ever need, on at a click, essentially, inside the MaidCentral platform. So use it, absolutely use it to your delight, honestly. But yeah, I'm glad that you use it. I'm glad that you and Control K. God, I'm so proud of you. I'm just so proud of Control K.
Yeah.
That's great.
That's my favorite.
Well, yeah, we are getting to the top of the hour here. Can you
We
believe it? You did it.
There's a couple of things that we should probably share.
We should, yes.
We are going to be in Chicago. Alvin's going to be taking the lead on this, but we're actually, there's a couple of things going on. There is a ISSA residential event on the 9th of June, and you can go to their website. A shortcut to that is arcsi.org, by the way. They've rebranded, but that will get you right to the residential page, and you can sign up for that. We're going to be speaking there on Sunday, but on Monday, we got an entire day on just artificial intelligence and tools that you can use today in your business to help with sales, to help with marketing, to help with support. And we're actually going to build an AI bot, an AI agent in the afternoon. And it's going to basically show, us as people who are running house cleaning businesses, the basics on how that works. It's not to say that it's going to be our job to be building bots all day, but it's going to be a bigger part of your business, and understanding how that works will be useful to you. And you can go to maidcentral.ai to register for that. It's starting to fill up, but there's still a few places left. And we talked about the Alive event, and we really aren't promoting that heavily yet because it's in September, but since we mentioned it, I'll share a link to that as well. It's a 3-day event. It's going to be in Charleston. If you've never been to one of our live events, Michelle, we were talking about it earlier. It's you'll walk away with a deeper understanding of not only how to use MaidCentral, but you'll learn a few things about your cleaning business too.
I think we've done that almost 10 times or more now, and I still walk away from every single one so invigorated and like livened up every single time. So it's a great event. If you have gone to one, come again, because it's just one of those things that it really helps just get you back in the groove of what you should be doing in MaidCentral.
And if I want to download the calendar,
Oh, the KPI calendar
or just the events calendar and sync it up with
this one. Yep.
Yeah. There's all kinds of cool stuff here. We need a little more time for this because there's just way too much to look at. Anyway. But yeah. Michelle, you're awesome.
Thank you so much.
Thanks so much, both of you. Thank you, and the whole MaidCentral team.
We adore working with you and being able to call you a MaidCentral partner. So thank you all the time.
It's folks like you, Michelle, that make this fun. We wouldn't want to do it if it wasn't for this.
Thank you.
Or we might, but we wouldn't enjoy it nearly as much. How about that?
Not nearly as much. Awesome. Well, I think that lets us wrap it up here.
Yeah. Right. So we'll be back in 2 weeks, I guess. I don't know.
First Tuesday, whatever the first Tuesday is. I think it'll be Tuesday 2 weeks.
And whatever month that is. Until then, everybody take care.
Bye-bye. We got 2 weeks.
Bye.